right, the kids on the underground started a thread, and it asked if Yoel Romero was the Tom Brady of MMA. Now, that's meant as a big compliment, and I think that Yoel deserves that. Here's one thing I will tell you guys about Yoel, and oftentimes when we talk of Yoel, I condescend to you as like the leading authority of Yoel Romero, but in some ways, I do offer something to you that you didn't know. Like, you guys first saw Yoel at, what, 36, 37 years old when he got into the octagon? And I want to say he had 2 or 3 fights that were undercard fights before he even made it to TV. I mean, he's almost 38 years old before he's exposed to the world. I followed Yoel from the time he was 19. The first time he had made the Cuban national team for wrestling, he went and competed internationally. He was 19 years old. He looked at 19 like he looks now, or let me say that again. He looks now the same as he did when he was 19. He was just one of those bodies, one of those DNA types. And I'll also share with you, Yoel's in his prime. As soon as I say Yoel's in his prime, I already know it's going to happen. Chael, how can you say, no, he's not, and he just lost to Costa? No, hear me out on this. He absolutely is in his prime. If you go watch Yoel today, and you rewind the tape 5 years, you're going to see the same guy. I will share, if you want to be a little bit more critical, that he has not tremendously evolved, but you're not going to evolve later in life. At some points, you want to get to as good as you can get, as good a shape, as quick, as many techniques, and then you want to just hold. Right? When you're 9 up to about 23, that's when you skill build. For any sport. LeBron and Kobe and Shaq, I mean, some of the greats, the skills that they were using in the NBA Finals were the skills that they had learned 20 years ago. They weren't skills that they learned in camp over the summer. That's a real part to the sport. So when I tell you that Yoel hasn't tremendously evolved, I can also tell you that he's in his prime. I really feel that he's as good today as he was 5 years ago, which was something very special. Now, are some of the guys in the sport learning a little bit more because they're younger and they happen to be in that sweet spot where skill building is big and is a very real thing, and they're more open to it, and their bodies are growing and they're timing and they're just, okay, I will give you that. But I don't know if there's anybody that Yoel can't beat. I realize there are guys that can beat him, but I think he can beat them too. I do think it comes down to any given night. If I was to give any criticism of Yoel, and he did this in wrestling too, he would do just enough. He would do just enough to win. And this was a common theme on the Cuban national team, and it still is. They would do, and still do to this day, a rope-a-dope to the highest of levels. Yoel could go out on the mat against a guy who had never wrestled before, and Yoel would keep him in the match. 3-4 minutes later, you're going, this match is 0-0. Yoel's an Olympic, this guy's never wrestled before. Yoel keep him in the match. He'd look over the clock, there'd be a minute left, boom, he'd hit one explosion, score his point, shut back down. He wouldn't show the fellow competitors who are scouting him, he wouldn't show them any more than he had to. He wouldn't exert any more energy than he had to. I don't know that we should question him for that. He went on to the Olympic finals with this theory, but you've also seen it in MMA. You can never take your eye off that son of a gun, right? Go see the Chris Weidman fight, or go see the Tim Kennedy fight. These guys are beating him from pillar to post, and he's just taking it. He's just rope-a-doping the whole time. He's staying in the fight. All of a sudden, he knows what the time is. He puts his foot on the pedal, and he gets him out of there. But that's one of the things that he does. That's within him. In a 10-9 must system, if you don't go get that TKO or finish, it's very important that you don't throw rounds away. He is a guy that will throw, he'll throw some rounds away. But I do think the comparison to Yoel Romero and Tom Brady, I think it's very fair, because I think it's meant as a compliment, and Yoel does deserve that compliment. He's a guy that keeps himself in shape, and I do also argue for you that he is still in his prime. And while there are guys that can beat him, I don't know that there's anybody that he can't beat.
Uncle Chael, there's no bad guy like Uncle Chael. Never lost, not even around. Undefeated, undisputed, oh yeah. Here comes a bad guy.